Hi guys. So I wanted to start kind of like this thing where I do candle discussion and like my prayer or my wish. My hope for humanity and like the change that I want to see or be part of. Like I really, really want to address, I want to keep addressing mental health and addiction and sexual abuse, assault, rape, all the things that nobody wants to talk about. I want to talk about it. It needs to be discussed. And, if that's not your thing, that's fine. I respect that, just scroll on and hey, that's cool. But yes, it's something that I'm not going to let up on. There's just so many things like that bug me. And it's just, I see like my nature, like, okay, so I was born I'm an analytical person. I don't know if you can see my cat in the background, but that's my cat, Mitzi. Hi, Mitzi. Hi. Oh, that was cute. Okay, that's a good sign, I think. So what was I saying? No, the cat's trying to jump up here. I'm like, no. So I'm an analytical person, like by nature. That's why I think I never intended to be a psych nurse. Like at 7 years old, I remember walking into Kaiser Hospital and I knew right away I wanted to be a nurse. It was my calling, definitely. There's no doubt about it. Nursing was my calling. And I'm very thankful that at least I graduated and, I fulfilled my dream. I mean, even though my career got cut short, I still use my knowledge now, which is a tremendous blessing. Like that's very satisfying and helping me tremendously because that was my dream. I was meant to be a nurse in this lifetime. I really wanted to be an RN. I wanted to get my bachelor's in science and all that, but I just, I got my license, and so that's fine. But that was huge. At least I did that because nobody helped me. Like I put myself through nursing school, and so that's kind of a big deal. I worked hard. I worked and went to school. Like I was pulling 70-hour weeks. Like that was crazy. Like I remember one summer, I had to take a prerequisite in order to graduate the program, and I didn't have enough time. Like I had to get this prerequisite in, otherwise I wouldn't graduate. And the only option of taking it was during my lunch break. So I was working at Napa State Hospital, and then during my lunch I would go across the street to the college and take my class. It was nutrition. I was so tired. So I didn't even have a lunch or anything. So I would go do that and then go back to work. And on top of it, I had to work overtime sometimes because that's the nature of the beast. We're always short staffed in those hospitals, state hospitals. But I remember being so tired. I would sleep at work sometimes. I would just nod off sometimes. But my coworkers, they helped me. They're like, okay, it's cool. I just sit in the treatment room and they take vitals, and I'd be nodding off at the end of the day because I was so tired. But anyways, my point is that, I kind of found psych, or I think psych found me, and I ended up studying psychology, and I became a psychiatric technician and a licensed vocational nurse, and also I have a CNA license. That program is a very unique program. It's awesome. But anyways, so I have it's great. I love mental health. I've always liked psych. And it pains me that there's so much stigma surrounding mental illness or mental health. Like, it seems like, well, so one thing is, okay, about like medical surgical nursing, that's very black and white. I don't really like that saying, but it's just the way, it's true. It's black and white, which means it's not gray or ambiguous. It's more, we deal with life and death situations, blood, gore, it's more black and white, scientific, science, life and death situations. So, they're great at treating that sort of thing. But, you'll find like doctors, like medical school, like they don't, I think, doctors, they don't know that. They don't get trained in psych. They like do one rotation in psych and that's it. So that's baffling to me, because I think doctors need to be trained more in psychology. And then even just like the psychologists and psychiatrists, I think there's just not, I don't think they treat, like, there's just, it seems like there's just one extreme to the next. Like, it seems like they contribute to the stigma. I think it's maybe hard to find a really good psychologist or psychiatrist. Like, I think social workers are kind of easier. Like, it's just hard to find a good counselor or therapist. But my point is that, okay, so psychology is very gray. It's very ambiguous. And our culture and society, it just seems like there's no in between. Like, there's so much grayness and in between with psych. Like, just because someone maybe is depressed or has like anxiety, it doesn't mean they're crazy or they're like mentally ill. Like, like to where, because it just carries so much stigma. I feel like if mentally ill is said about a person, like everyone around just automatically thinks, oh, they're crazy or something. Or, I mean, it's a stigma. And I don't like that. Like, that needs to change, because that's not the case. I mean, if that were the case, then every single person would be freaking crazy and mentally ill. And that's not the case. I mean, I'm talking about, we're not going around insane, mentally ill, but there are, I mean, a lot of people are, somewhat sick. We do, yeah, we have a lot to deal with, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, and I just feel like it just goes unaddressed, and nobody addresses their their feelings, their emotions, or their thoughts. And if it's bad enough, then it can develop into something significant. And that's a shame. And so I think the stigma just adds to the avoidance, because, people are afraid that they're going to be, they are going to be looked down upon, or they are going to be labeled like, oh, she's unstable, or, oh, she's cuckoo, and that's so, it's so bad. It's really bad. And where is that getting us as a society? What's happening is there's more cases of bipolar. Like, years ago, did you even hear of bipolar? I mean, it probably existed, but what I'm saying is, okay, like, we are getting better, because at least, therapy isn't looked down upon as much. And, people are talking more, but it's not good enough. It's not by a long shot. Like, the stigma needs to end. No more stigma. That would be so great. If we didn't have stigma, and then also, like, addiction. Like, addiction, I believe that addiction is a mental disorder. I believe that addiction is a mental illness. I wholeheartedly believe this. It is of the mind. A lot of it's psychological, because addiction isn't dependence. Those are two very separate things. And not until just recently, nobody even realized that. Like, we're just starting to talk about that. And that's mind blowing to me. That's just crazy. And again, like, you know, some of these doctors or some, like, I see these people and they're like, okay, this one guy is an addiction specialist. And I'm just wondering, well, is he a psychologist? Or, like, I wonder what his credentials are. Like, I do want to research him. I mean, I am talking about Dr. B. And I mean, I have to say, like, you know, he does, you know, he does some good, I admit. I do want these doctors, though. I don't know if he's a doctor. I mean, I would imagine he is, since he calls himself Dr. B, but I haven't checked his credentials. But I want to hear, like, you know, doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists talk about how addiction is an underlying, is a symptom of an underlying issue. That's what I want to hear, because it just seems like it doesn't get addressed enough, or, like, you know, or it just seems like people just get shipped off to, you know, AAA or NA, you know, all these different recovery centers, but it's just, I don't think that they're under the real issue. The root of the problem is being treated or addressed. And so, I mean, in my opinion, like, you know, if the root of the problem isn't addressed, then no amount of meetings are gonna really help. I just don't think. Like, I just think, I don't know, maybe, but I know a lot of people who have gone and they, you know, they don't get their problems addressed, like the root of the root of the problem, like the underlying issue, the issue that caused them, you know, to abuse drugs and alcohol or whatever. You know, they don't address that. And so they relapse over and over and over again. And it's like, it's insanity to me, because I mean, I just don't understand why. I mean, nobody, like, I can't be the only smart one. It's like, sometimes I feel like I'm the only one on the planet who thinks this way. And that's crazy. That's crazy to me, because what I'm saying makes complete sense. I mean, I'm so thankful that, you know, I am, like, I think about these things because I think it's helping people, and I want to help people. Like, I know it's helped me. Like, I've healed so much. I've done so much great for myself. And, you know, I'm thankful for that, because I have been through a lot of trauma, and I think, you know, I'm doing really well. And I am a problem solver. I'm problem solving oriented by nature, so that helps. So I always want to try and, you know, find the solution. And a lot of times the solution to, like, again, like addiction, you got to put in the work. You know, you have to address whatever it is that's causing you to behave this way, because addiction is a behavior. Besides it being a condition of the mind or a disease, it's a behavior. And also, you know, it's hereditary also. However, I think that a lot of times, like, there are issues that wake that up. You know, whatever you inherited, maybe it, you know, it awakens that. Because I don't think that it's just, you know, hereditary, so, oh, you become an alcoholic. I think other things, like, there's other like traumas and things and behaviors that go along, that occur. That's what I believe a lot of the time. And lots of times it can be sexual inappropriateness, and that, you know, a lot of times that goes hand in hand with alcoholism and drug abuse. You know, it's sexual deviance. It's just, there's so much of it. But I pray and wish that whoever's listening to this, if you have issues that you know that you hide, but if you feel like you experienced lots of trauma, like sexually or different, something that is hurting you now that's causing you, to have addiction issues or just problems in your life. Because there's other things too. Like trauma can affect us in different ways and cause us to do different things, as adults that are negative, or just, we're like suffering. Please like get some help, or you could either like look it up online or get some books on it. You can get some self-help books as a start. Like I remember years and years ago, a long time ago, like before I got therapy, I got this really good like program. Well, it wasn't, I don't know what it was. It was like a book and like these cards and stuff, just a lot of information on like anxiety and stuff, because that was my thing. Like I had like anxiety, but there's just some good stuff out there that you can read that can help you. But I might talk about that a little bit, because there's a lot of tools and different things that you can do to help manage anxiety. Okay, well, but yeah, like people, addiction, there's, a lot of people have addiction issues. Like that's huge. I mean, there's, a good part of the population, but also it's another thing I wanted to say is that, I mean, the whole population, isn't addicted. I mean, not, even if we do have addiction to deal with, it doesn't mean that we have to ban everything, anything that's slightly addicting, because it's just, that's not realistic. Because again, I mean, everything can be addicting. Everything has that potential. And the more that we realize that, the more we can be aware and maybe stop judging each other too, or looking down on one another, because we're all basically the same, like we're all human beings just trying to get by in life. I mean, nobody's really better than the other person, it's like for the most part we're just like, we're all just trying, and it's like we need to come together instead of being so hard on one another. Like people are so mean, or like people like, like they figure, oh, if they can't have it, then they don't want anyone else to have it. That's a bad attitude, but just gotta stop that. Like we need to stop harming each other. But okay, so love you guys, and if you've listened all the way to this point, I love you even more. I really appreciate it. Okay, talk to you later. Good night.